polos for.
If I, like I said, if I go to the Masters, I'm dropping 1,000 easy and they give it out.
Can you just go to the gift shop?
It's all good.
We're good.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock. I'm going to call the April 14th Board of Commission meeting to order. Today, we're going to start out with the prayer by Commissioner Zarpella, followed by the pledge by myself.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day, for the opportunity to gather in a free country. We're grateful, Lord, for all that you give us. We ask you would be with us during our meeting, help us to make sound decisions. And Lord, we're also grateful for the astronauts and their safe return and just a great thing that was for our country. All this we ask in your son's most precious name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Leslie, roll call, please.
District 1 Chairman John Block.
Present.
District 2 Commissioner Roger Ballard.
Here.
District 3 Commissioner Gary Heberly.
Here.
District 4 Commissioner Bill Sarkella.
Present.
District 5 Commissioner Christine Lee. Present. District 6 Commissioner Evans Ehart.
Here.
District 7 Commissioner John Moody.
Present.
Thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome.
If there are no corrections or deletions from today's agenda, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Support. I have a motion by Commissioner Lee, supported by Commissioner Heberling to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Agenda is adopted. Up next is our meeting minutes from April 7th. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Support. I have a motion from Commissioner Ballard, supported by Commissioner Ehart to approve our meeting minutes from April 7th. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. You will receive correspondence from Jody, the email the other day. We're going to move into commissioner reports. We'll start with Commissioner Moody.
No report. I have a meeting tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday.
Okay. Evans?
No, either. I saw you guys last week.
Okay. I was in Marion Township last week. They had a variety of things going on. One thing I wanted to touch on briefly, because everybody here is dealing with land use issues, wind and solar seems to be a persistent topic. And Public Act 233 and the complications with that. In the last couple of years, Marion Township took the stance of they're going to create an overlay district and put the state's Public Act 233 standards within it that will allow solar and wind in these particular areas. And I'm pleased to announce that DTE is actually playing ball with the township. They are going to build a substantial solar farm. They are building it within the overlay district that the township created where they wanted it built. So I think that that's a step in the right direction and something positive, and I wanted to share that with everybody here.
The state's okay with that then?
So the state's not involved in it because of it, right? So what could happen in that scenario would be, say hypothetically, DTE wanted to build outside of that district. Well, that's where the township and DTE would then have a difference of opinion. And DTE would then potentially go to the state for approval outside of that. Whether that would be granted or not, we don't know. But that's kind of been a big part of the discussion is trying to work with the municipalities, but the municipalities have to provide reasonable space for them to do it. And I just think this is an example of they provided reasonable space and the developer decided to stay within it. So it's probably the next best option that townships kind of have to work within. And it's been a success so far. We'll see how it continues to go, but that I did want to share. That's all I have. Christine?
I had a meeting at Brown City and they had two public hearings. One was on the 25-26 budget amendment. And the other one was on the CDBG funds for Maple Valley Estates. They passed both resolutions on both of those items. They picked Scott Lawn Care to mow the park and they're changing liability insurance. And they hired a new police chief, but they're negotiating the contract. And Thumb Cellular, you would rent space on the water tower and they would get free phones for the city. Well, Thumb Cellular doesn't want to do that anymore. They just want to, they don't want to provide the phones. And so they're negotiating with Thumb Cellular. And that is it.
Thank you, Christine. Bill?
Port Sanilac, they're going to be starting a new community fund through the foundation there. Approved a bunch of their dates, Poppy Days, fireworks, water project. et cetera. The water project final bill will be coming up, so that'll be done. And they are getting their water from Lexington now, and their audit was completed. Bridgehampton, the ballot box is going to be installed. They did get a key for that finally. And their office repairs are done from the flood that they had there, and their budget was closed and approved for 25-26. And they have a new member on board of review. Sand Lake Township, there's been discussion with that rental. That was an issue with the health department over there on 25 that looks like they're finally cleaning that place up. SEFA had an appointment for a position there. They approved their gravel contract, culvert work, and then they have an addition for a planning committee person and also a new deputy clerk that's hired. That's what I have.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Gary?
John, I have nothing because I've had no meetings the past week. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Roger?
Argyle met Saturday. I did not make it to that meeting. I was doing battle with a woodchuck. Woodchuck lost. That was the highlight of my weekend. Well, not really. The Marlette, City of Marlette had their park and cemetery cleanup on Saturday. I did not participate in that either. We have our own park to clean up. And they had over 90 take part in the cleanup at the park, which was very good. Biagio's provided pizza after they were done. They have a free shred day in Marlette at the depot for city residents this Saturday, the 25th. Tonight I'll be at Marlette Township. They're expecting a full house. They'll be discussing a park millage for the community park in Marlette. So that'll be at 7:00. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Appreciate everyone's commissioner reports. Nathan, your administrator report, please.
Due to the quick turnaround, I don't have anything that we haven't communicated through email from last week, so.
Totally understood. We're going to have a discussion about meeting schedule real quick at the end of the meeting too. And Nathan, you've got some information for us. Any questions for Nathan? Seeing none, we'll move on. I'm going to call for public comments pertaining to the agenda. Are there any public comments pertaining to the agenda today? Seeing none, we're going to move on. That's going to move us right into presentations. Today we have our county treasurer, Trudy Bowers. Trudy, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I distributed the packet here. You'll notice on this front one, the blue and white, that we used to have funds in many of the banks, and that's why they're all listed here. But due to the constraints of the FDIC and the lack of having those funds insured, you all supported me in moving to a financial advisor. I've got my cloak here with me today to help shed some light on the ways of the world and our portfolio. So, but you can see on there that we have trimmed down everything that's in our local banks and moved a lot of the funds to which we're very happy to report has worked very well. The funds are in the U.S. Bank managed by Meter and his associates. Mike is working on that. The next page has some graphs here. So these amounts show for 24 and 25 the interest that each fund earned. So as this money gets dispersed, we allocate it to U.S. Bank, but it's all documented. Brandy does all of the accounting by fund. So each fund, parks, etc., save, road commission, all get their own interest. And this is all the interest, even interest that is in the cash line too, right, Brandy? The cash, the investment at Michigan Class, the U.S. Bank funds, and everything that they received last year and the year prior. You can see the difference. Now, sometimes it's a little more each year depending on how they're utilizing their funds. They may need their funds for operations, and so not as much is invested in there for. So the next page, it's the same thing, only it shows a monetary list of what those funds have earned in interest. So, and you can see there's about $31,000 more last year than there was the year before. We anticipate probably this year will be a little less just due to the changes in the interest rates. I think the last interest rate we got from Michigan Class was around 3.4, something like that. We're still good. When I started here in 2012, we were earning about 0.05. It's been a phenomenal run here in the last few years as far as interest rates. So the next one shows you at the bottom the 2023 rates, the 24 rates, and you can see how they have moved down from starting, in December of 23, we were at 5.5512, and December of 25, we're at 3.9473. So we're still earning interest. It's not the revenue stream that we have seen in the last couple of years, but we're still glad to be able to earn some decent interest on our funds. That's all that we have prepared at the treasurer's office. The investment report here is, I'm going to introduce Mike to come up and have him go through what he's got and tell us how we're doing. Thank you, Mike, for being here today.
Good afternoon. See everyone again. I've met in the past, and for the new folks, pleasure to meet you. Trudy said I needed to be out of here by 5. Does that work for everybody?
Five, that would be 5 minutes. I got the right number, you got the right time frame.
She said 5. I thought she meant 5 p.m. So
You're gonna be.
we're gonna get rid of a lot of this stuff.
I think she meant 5 after 1.
This packet that Trudy handed out, does anyone have any questions about it? I wanted to go into a couple of things. The information that we put in this packet, this was your year end, which was December. And so some of the commentary that you may have been browsing through, it's a little out of date. Things are going and moving so quickly and so rapidly now in the world, as I'm sure you're all aware. Some of the outlooks that we shared here. I have an up-to-date one that Trudy and I are going to go over after this meeting. She'll have a copy of it. So if any of you feel like perusing it or getting a little bit more up-to-date news, then she'd be the place to go for that. So any questions on the packet? The portfolio as it's in and of itself has been doing very well. As of the end of December, we were yielding 424, which is considerably above where the market was at that time. So the long-term strategy in a declining interest rate environment, which is where we have been, is one that is working out very well. We're still going to be looking at about $1.2 million for earnings for 2026. Trudy mentioned it might be down a little bit, and I want to stress the little bit because unlike with a vehicle such as Michigan Class, which is not to say the Michigan Class is not a good product, it is. It's a very good product, but it's much more subject to interest rate fluctuations on a day-to-day basis just because of the way it's structured. The majority of your funds are in a long-term strategy, or the maximum maturities that we go out to 5 full years. And so as a result of that, there's only a very small amount each month that matures and needs to be reinvested and is therefore open to fluctuations in the interest rate environment, if that makes sense. So rather than the whole 29 million that is getting a roller coaster of interest rates, you're only getting $500,000 that comes to the market each time that something matures to be reinvested. So what that does is that allows for much more of a stability when it comes to projecting interest rates, when it comes to putting those numbers into the budget, when it comes to Trudy's ability to provide you with information. Because quite frankly, if you were to ask me what Michigan Class as a comparison, what's Michigan Class going to earn? I have no idea because those rates change on a day-to-day basis. Whereas with this, we're probably going to be within 5 basis points of this 424, maybe 10 throughout the course of the year. So very good spot, especially considering that the interest rate environment has been in the decline for the last couple of years. So you folks came into the market going from banks and liquid funds into longer term securities at almost exactly. I remember we talked about this back at the time. It was almost the perfect time to have done that. So instead of riding interest rates down over the last couple of years, we've kept them at a very good rate based on using the strategy. Okay, so looking forward, okay, we use a methodology that we refer to as FIGEY, F-I-G-E-Y, for Fed, inflation, growth, employment, and yields, F-I-G-E-Y. Okay, just wanted to touch on a couple of notes about what's going on now versus what was going on here in that commentary from the end of December. There's a lot of uncertainty right now, obviously. It's probably the one thing I didn't need to say because everybody knows it. Okay. The center of that uncertainty is obviously with what's going on in Iran. Okay, the Strait of Hormuz in particular, because a huge percentage of the world's oil goes through the strait, not so much ours, but places like China, where 30 to 40% of their oil goes through the strait. They're the world's second largest economy. And so when they're not able to get their oil, that affects their production as well. So it has the potential to affect things on a global scale. Okay, in the space of only 90 days, we have gone from projecting 3 interest rate cuts from the Fed. We went all the way up to projecting a hike, and that's only 90 days. And that's crazy for when you think about how stable the Fed tends to be on a year-over-year basis. Okay, now we're back down to, we're thinking it's going to be 1 cut. The Fed has said the whole time that they're only going to do 1 cut, but the market frequently does not agree with the Fed. And so that's what the market has been saying, is that wide variance in Fed cuts. Now, the Fed is no more right than the market. They frequently disagree. And just because the Fed says it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So there's still some uncertainty. Now, how does that apply to us? It applies to us from a standpoint of short-term interest rates are majority what make up our portfolio. So as the Fed moves, those interest rates tend to move as well. So if the Fed, for example, were to suddenly say, like they did when COVID hit, those of us that can remember that far back, they took interest rates down to 0 overnight. Okay, and as a result, everything else went down to 0 very quickly after that. So even though medium-term yields, which is 3 to 5 years, are less affected by this, but they still can be affected. So that's why we keep an eye on it. Okay. From an inflation standpoint, we're still up somewhat from the Fed's 2% market. Even after the end of December, there is still talk going around about 3% being the new normal. And that would be an entire economic adjustment if the Fed were to do that, if they were to implement a 3% versus a 2%. We're seeing that in everything. Gas prices are probably the one that we most noticed first quarter. And that's almost directly attributable to what's going on in Iran. So inflation expectations are also higher for next year, again, because of what's going on in Iran. You've got your short-term ramifications, gas prices and so forth, and then the slowing down of production in countries like China, other places that we do a lot of trade with. Those prices may need to go up as a result of production slowing down now, because those things are in a longer economic cycle when it comes to production and price and so forth than others. So growth. Just as a reminder, GDP, you always talk about growth. You hear the prognosticators on the news, whether it's the CBS Evening News or Fox Business or anything in between, they talk about the economy. The economy, that's what they like to refer to. 70% of that word is us, our spending, everybody in this room. Okay, it's not the big companies that decide what goes on the economy, it's all of us here, because 70% of the GDP is consumer spending. So when we make the decisions, all of us are making decisions, if we haven't already, about what are we going to do for vacation this year? Are we going to buy a new car? Are we going to retire? All of those things, consumer spending, the decisions that we each make on a day-to-day basis is what really drives the economy. It really has very little to do with what Amazon is doing or what, the other tech companies are doing, things along those lines. So keep that in mind when you are looking at the future, just because the news says we're going to have a recession, and I'm not saying that that's what I'm hearing. I'm just saying when they talk about a recession, maybe we just don't participate. So retail sales are still good. They projected one of the possibilities after COVID was what they call a K-shaped recovery, and that's what it is turning into. And a K-shaped recovery just basically means if you think about a K, one goes up, one goes down, and that's really two different economies, okay? Higher, mid to high earners, the economy has been very well for them. The stock market is up. Everybody's 401k is doing great. People that earn more can absorb the price of eggs going up. They can absorb things like the price of gas going up more easily than folks on the lower side. So on the upper side, it's been doing very well. The lower side, folks are struggling. Okay. That being said, not trying to politicize anything, but the majority of spending, just as a matter of a dollar, comes from that upper side. So that's why, because the upper side of the K has been doing so well, that's why you're not seeing more negative economic numbers, because they're holding it up on that side, if that makes sense. Employment, the Fed considers, and economists consider 4.5 to 5.5% full employment, which is to say unemployment, not only 4.5 to 5.5%. I had to read that twice the first time I read it. So they don't mean 5% employed, do they? No, they mean unemployed. Is where, so 95% is where they look, 95 to 96 is where they look at unemployment. We're a little bit, unemployment's a little bit below that. So on the employment side, doing very well from an economic standpoint. Jobless claims are very low. Okay, they have been doing there's a phenomenon going around right now and they're calling it don't hire, don't fire. So they're not getting rid of people, but they're also not adding new ones. When people retire, when people quit and leave, they're not replacing them or adding on to them. So new unemployment claims aren't going up like we just talked about. And that's the reason for that is people aren't getting fired, but they're also not replacing jobs. And that's not really a metric that gets tracked at the Fed level, that specific point. So where does it all bring us to? Yields. 5-year Treasury peaked in October 2023. Okay. But we're still higher than we have been over the last 20 years. So that's still a great opportunity. Brandy and I were talking right before the meeting started. It's probably time to do another cash flow analysis and look at each individual fund line item by line item and see if there is a little bit more that we might be able to allocate to the investment portfolio to get those higher yields that we've been talking about by locking things in for a little bit longer. Everything that we have talked about here in the last 10 minutes really doesn't apply to you, which I know is kind of a head scratcher. Okay. But if you go back to what I said originally, you only have a very small piece of your portfolio that is getting exposed to the chaos of daily life and therefore volatile interest rates on a regular basis. So unlike people that are more cash heavy, people that tend to keep their funds more liquid, yeah, they're getting hammered with all of this volatility up and down. Whereas with your portfolio, slow and steady wins the race. So we're in a great position. We're still above 4% as of the end of March. And as I said, we'll probably end up within 5 to 10 basis points of that at the year end of 26 as well. So that was chapter 1. Are we ready for chapters 2 through 19? They laugh, but I'd stay up here and talk all day if you let me. No, thank you very much. Questions?
Mike, I just had
Yes.
one quick question. On page 3, you talked about fluctuation early.
Are we looking at Trudy's report?
Trudy's report, sorry. Yep.
Okay.
So I just picked out a few and it's really probably insignificant, but like buildings and ground that dropped interest 2,000 last year.
Everything, is this what we're looking at? the table, the interest earned?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And is that due to fluctuation? They dropped
15,
considerably there.
you're looking at the 16.6 versus the 14.5?
Yeah, so I'm looking at line 631.
How they're using the funds.
Gary, it might just be how that building department is utilizing their funds. If they requested more due to projects that were planned.
Yeah.
With
Especially if they were
Nathan
early
and
in the year.
Christie, they might know more about the budget. But for interest wise, it is just their cash on hand. If they had more of it or less than that on.
Okay,
depending on-
I wondered that, yeah.
It also depends, I'm not really involved with the fund by fund level of the determinations that the treasurer's office makes when it comes to, are we gonna put the funds for this fund in class because we might need them on a more regular basis? Or are we gonna put them in the meter portfolio because that tends to be longer term money? So backing up with what was just said, if there was a higher percentage of building and grounds funds that were left in class,
Mhm.
that sound right?
Yeah, yeah. And I
That's why that
I can
interest rate
agree that, yeah. Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
And again, if you guys have any other questions, Trudy is always available to answer any of it
We can,
in the office.
yeah, you're welcome to call or
Okay.
come on in.
Any
You have
further
cookies?
Yeah, yeah.
You back on cookies?
I'll put it in my truck.
You started it.
Any further questions for Mike?
And just a quick comment. I noticed on the boards that I sit on, the increased earnings that we have has allowed us to do more things for the county. So that's certainly critical by having the investments in a position where we earn a little bit more, that money can come back out. I know some departments we paid for things that we in the past probably wouldn't have been able to. So that's good. We appreciate everybody.
Those are the kinds of things that make my day. They make the job worth it.
Yep.
So
Exactly right.
thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Anything else? Seeing none, we appreciate you being here today.
Thank you all very much. It was good to see you again. And sure you have my phone number if anyone has any more questions.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy, for the report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you having us today.
Okay, that's going to conclude presentations. I see no need for 13A, 13B, or 14 for appointments to standing committees. We do have one resolution today. Commissioner Ballard is going to have a resolution for Patty Olfig for years of service.
Hey, come on up here.
Welcome, Patty.
When I started here, Patty was next door. Over
Front of the
there.
court.
Yeah, and yeah. Okay, resolution honoring Patricia Ufig for years of service. Can I call you Patty from there on out? Thank you. Whereas Patty Ufig has served the residents of St. Lake County for more than 25 years with dedication and professionalism. And whereas Patty began her career with St. Lake County on October 25th, 2000 in the front of the court office. And on March 19th, 2008, she transferred to the position of juvenile registrar / deputy assignment clerk for the 24th Circuit Court Juvenile Division. And whereas throughout her tenure, Patty has consistently provided exceptional service and high quality work, earning the respect and admiration of her colleagues. And whereas Patty has demonstrated her extensive knowledge of the 24th Circuit Court Juvenile Division and conveyed that knowledge with character and integrity. And whereas Patty's contributions have left a lasting positive impact on juvenile division of the 24th Circuit Court of St. Lake County. Now therefore be it resolved that the St. Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby expresses its sincere appreciation and extends its heartfelt gratitude and best wishes to Patty for continued health, happiness, and fulfillment in her well-earned retirement. Be it further resolved that this resolution be presented to Patty Ufig, spread upon the proceedings of the St. Lake County Board of Commissioners this 14th day of April 2026. Congratulations. What's that?
I'm not sure I can use both, but.
Yeah, right. Enjoy your time on the boat, right?
Yeah.
Is that still a thing?
Yeah.
Okay, good, good. Doing a video? Should we be talking? Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Patty.
Okay, I have a resolution offered by Commissioner Ballard. Is there support?
I support it.
I have support by Commissioner Lee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Leslie, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Black,
Yes.
Commissioner Moody,
Yes.
Commissioner Heberling,
Yes.
Commissioner Ehart,
Yes.
Commissioner Sarcella.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Leslie. Okay, that's going to conclude resolutions. We're going to move into committee reports and we'll start with Commissioner Ballard.
Yesterday I had a DTF meeting, just a couple little tidbits out of that meeting. Meth is definitely the biggest problem in the county. It's cheap, supplies are large. What they used to seize in grams is now ounces. They had, during February, March, they seized 462.3 grams. There are 28.35 grams in an ounce, so that's a considerable amount. The team track meet is May 7th at Croslex at 4 p.m. And drug take back day is next Saturday, excuse me, April 25th. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Gary?
Yes, thank you, John. I'd like to report on the Parks Committee. First of all, I think most of you know, but I'll go through it anyway. We hired Carrie McIntyre as the manager of the Forester Park, and I think she's going to do a great job. We vetted several people, and Carrie was probably one of the positive that came along to pick for the Forester Park. That said, we moved Jake Nightingale, which worked at Evergreen, and we moved him to Forester Park for a short time, and we promoted him back to the manager at Evergreen Park. John Fraser is working on a grant for Lexington Park. We have a lot of things that fall under that grant. So we're looking forward to getting that grant, hopefully sometime this fall. Evergreen is done cutting trees back in the back area, and Jake had announced that he had got those cut, and that's going to be used to open up more spaces for campers. He also met with Highline last week and to see if we could get Highline in there. Forester, Lexington, Evergreen, they're doing a cleanup, preparing for the 2026 season. And we added Ken Wimmer to the board, which we voted on last week. And I think it'll be a positive for our board. Tomorrow I have MPC meeting in Carroll. I can't attend that because tomorrow is Freedom Day for me. I go to Port Yorn and I get my boot off, the boot, I call it the boot. And everybody said, boy, that was short. No, it wasn't. It was 8 weeks. I get tired of sitting in the lazy boy, but the last 2 or 3 weeks I've been out in the lawn working, so that was nice to hobble around getting that done. End of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Bill?
Just one comment on parks. On Saturday, I took a break from work and wife wanted to go for a drive, so we went up to Evergreen. Kind of wanted to see how the pond was doing. That's one of the things when that project was going on that I pushed for. And I remember Bob Wood, his comments on the pond were don't put the dirt too far from the hole. But the pond Saturday was right up to the overflow pipe, which it hasn't been there in a few years. So that was good to see. And I told Jake, it was Saturday about 2:00. I said, I need to borrow a car or buy a different car to come up here because he always sees me come in and here he comes. So Jake he's going to do a great job up there. We had a good visit up there. So
good.
And I've had lunch with Carrie, right? The new manager at Forester. She's pretty well versed on parks and rec. So
good.
Happy for their choice.
Good deal. Thank you, Roger. Bill?
Board of Public Works met. We have no projects at this time, and we still have one vacancy on that board, so we're looking for someone to fill that spot. They meet quarterly. And then I sat in on the NRAT committee, which is through MAC. That's Environmental, Natural Resources, Agriculture, and Tourism. A lot of big things there that they cover. We had a presentation by the Executive Director of Tourism from Manistee County. And her position is funded by the dollars that are generated from hotel stays. There's like a 5% fee that goes on that. So for Manistee County, it generates $900,000 a year.
Wow.
To talk about the dollars that they have. And one of the big emphasis that they really focus on up there is, Evans would appreciate this, is Arcadia Bluffs.
That's
Big draw. And they extended their airport to allow private jets to come in so guys could fly in and golf at that golf course.
You're gonna dig me up with your private jet here soon.
I know. You can ride in the back of the Jeep if you want.
All right, well, either way, I'm getting there.
All the way in the back, right?
Yeah, all the way in the back. So yeah, a lot of that was interesting to hear about just how they run all that. A couple other things that they talked about was the platform. So every year we read all of the platform setups for the committee because that kind of determines where MAC is going to be doing their focus. And so that changes every year. It's kind of a drawn out affair because you got to read the whole thing, but we have to try to get that done within 4 meetings, which we managed to do. And then a couple things, there's still rumblings around Lansing in regards to the septic code coming out of the state. So we want to make sure to keep tabs on that. It's not going to go away at this point in time. And then another big discussion, particularly for Manistee County, is what consumers are going to be doing with their dams. Doesn't necessarily affect us here, but if anybody's familiar with the Tippy Dam, that's one of the, because what consumers is looking at is possibly selling out. And then if some firm can't take it over, they might decommission them. And that's really an important factor. I don't know if you saw anything this week. I did pick up on Sanford. So anybody go by Sanford when they're starting to fill that back in.
There's a lot of water in there. I drove through there on Friday and was surprised.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing that they rebuilt that. So the whole intent is, because I mean, if when the water was gone and you go over there, you can look and see all the homes just sitting on that, their docks are out there. In some places, their boats are sitting there waiting for water to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a mess. Anyways, that's all I have. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Christine?
I had a health board and they handed out this community health need assessment. I'm gonna leave this copy with Nathan, so if anybody wants to look at it, there's some very good information in there.
It's pretty detailed.
And outbreak of measles in Washita County and one case in Monroe County, so it's starting to pick up. Sad to say, RSV is continuing to rise. And this Kratom, Kratom, is a supplement, energy supplement. And it looks like candy, but it's very addictive. And after 3 days of use, you could have very bad withdrawals from it. And they sell it like at gas stations and stuff. That's all I have to report.
Have to lay off Evans. Yeah, I'll write
Yeah.
that one down.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Appreciate your report. I had a SAVE Council meeting this morning. Everything's pretty status quo there. One big change that SAVE did is it started funding the providers up front instead of on the backside. So that was kind of a new thing this year. And I know the girls in administration are on top of that, and even the SAVE board this morning acknowledged that they're trying to work closely with the county to make sure that that all continues to move forward smoothly, which so far it has. One other topic that landed on my plate this morning is our MAC 7th district meetings. We kind of got that going a couple years ago. Those of you who have participated have probably noticed the participation of the other counties. I think the last MAC 7th, we had 5 people on the call and 4 of them were from Sanilac. Sounds like whatever meeting was supposed to happen here shortly, Lapeer can't orchestrate it. So I'm just letting you guys be aware. I told Jody, probably as far as I'm concerned, probably not too worried about it anymore. We weren't getting the participation, but I wanted to be upfront and honest with all you guys that if anybody else here wanted to spearhead that, feel free. But I don't see a lot of value in it. If we ever get in a situation where we need to talk to those counties, I'm sure we can use that avenue to try to get them back on a call again. But just due to lack of participation, I'd hate to see 4 or 5 of us invest time and,
Actually, it's been dying for years.
Yeah, well, it was, and then we tried to kind of bring it back. And, I remember one meeting, we had every county but St. Clair in there.
Yep.
That was within the last couple of years. So that was kind of promising, but then it started to tail away.
Well, we used to attend those meetings. I had them live. We went to them. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
going
people would
here.
go to them and then we kind of did the virtual thing and hoping that'd be easier and we can't get the participation. So I just wanted everybody to be aware of that. If you don't see them coming through anymore, or if they do, feel free to attend. I don't know what the participation rate will be. That's all I have. Vince?
Last week on Thursday, I went over to the new HTC Crisis Center that opened up across the street. It looks great in there. The whole setup is perfect. I'm glad it's there. The county has a great
resource now and victim advocates for many, many years to come. I know Nathan stopped by and saw a look at it and he liked it. And then I have HTC meeting tomorrow.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Evans. John?
No report. I've got 3 coming up in the next couple weeks.
All righty.
I forgot to mention, I did have a mental health program committee meeting, and they pretty much just reported approvals of status quo. So
Very good. Appreciate everyone's committee reports. I see no need for unfinished business. That's going to move us directly into new business today. And that's going to start out with FA 060-26, approval of emergency management performance grant.
Santa Clara County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the fiscal year 2025 Emergency Management Performance Grant EMPG agreement, and further authorizes the board chairman sign the necessary agreement.
Support.
I have a motion by Finance Chairman Sarkella, support by Commissioner Lee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 061-26, award bid to purchase notification system for 911 dispatch.
Santa Clara County Board of Commissioners hereby awards the bid to HyperReach for the purpose of providing a mass notification service in Santa Clara County to deliver fast and reliable information when timing is critical and safety is at risk at a cost of $9,500 annually for a 3-year period with funding from the 9/11 millage.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, supported by Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is
I
carried.
think we had all our discussion on that at our last meeting.
I'm surprised Greg come back. I enjoy it. I see you stayed far away from me today.
See how fast we passed that so he couldn't talk this week?
I'm surprised they didn't sit closer to the door.
Next up is FA 062-26, approval of 26 commercial and industrial appraisal study for legalization office.
Santa Clara County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the 2026 commercial industrial appraisal study between Santa Clara County and Jenny Diaz at a cost of $102.50 per parcel with funding from the equalization budget, and further authorizes the board chairman to sign the necessary agreement.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Sarkella, support by Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 063-26, authorization to purchase baskets for recycling center.
Santa Clara County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the recycling center coordinator to purchase 3 separate shipments of baskets from Davis Metal and Plastics with 22 baskets per shipment at a cost of $285 per basket, with a total cost not to exceed $18,810 with funding from the multi-county material management grant. Support.
Got a motion by Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlein.
No, I give it to Commissioner Lee.
Okay. We'll give it to Lee.
Okay.
Who'd you put down?
Heberlein.
Oh, you're wrong.
All I know is I got support. Is anybody got it back?
Well, I was right in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got it better. She's over there.
Any discussion related?
You might want to let Joanne know that this is probably going to get approved, because she was kind of worried about it today when I was talking to her. So I don't know if she didn't realize.
Yeah, I talked to her.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Any further discussion related?
Acting director.
Adam.
Oh.
Whenever you guys are done, whatever, just let me know. I'll move on.
You sure?
Yeah, I have that. Yeah, you know,
We haven't done that before.
it's loose. Look at this thing. It's falling apart over here.
That's before we got here.
You probably loosened it up on me. You're like, I'm gonna talk more than normal. And then when he grabs it, the
He's
head
gonna go to use it, and they're gonna go flying off.
fly off it. All right. Any further discussion related to FA 063-26? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next up is FA 064-26, approval of letter of agreement for POLC command unit.
Santa Clara County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the letter of understanding between Santa Clara County and the POLC command for the purpose of defining and clarifying the final average compensation language within their contract, and further authorizes the board chairman to sign the letter.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Sarkella, support by Commissioner Lee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 065-26, award for state land bank grant project for the Land Bank Authority.
Santa Clara County Board of Commissioners hereby awards S.A. Torello the bid for the demolition project at 69 Lexington Street, Sandusky, at a cost not to exceed $38,368, funded through the county land bank budget and reimbursed by the state land bank grant. Support.
Motion by Commissioner Sarcella, supported by Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next up is FA 066-26, award bid to outfit police vehicles for the sheriff's office.
San Luis County Board of Commissioners hereby awards the sheriff's office purchase 2 sets of vehicle equipment to outfit 2026 Chevrolet Tahoe police package vehicles to be assigned to Uniform Services Division from Arrowhead Outfitters Incorporated of Clio, Michigan at a cost of $18,788 each for a total cost not to exceed $37,576 with funding from Uniform Services Vehicle Equipment.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Sarcella, supported by Commissioner Moody. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Before we get to NFA 007, Bill, did they get you the final number?
No.
Sorry. That's from here, though. I got it.
You got it. Ooh, that's a big number.
Starts with a B. Next up is NFA 007-26. This is the adoption of the 2026 equalization report from the Equalization Office.
San Luis County Board of Commissioners hereby adopts the 2026 equalization report as presented with the total equalized value of $4,580,176 and further authorizes the equalization director to make any amendments needed to the total county equalized value prior to the submission to the State Tax Commission.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Sarcella, supported by Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. And I think you guys are all aware that Keegan was intending to give some type of a presentation, but due to a family, making more family.
Yes.
Good for him. He will be giving us that presentation next week. So, I believe he's got a child potentially being born today or.
Yeah, his wife started having some pretty consistent contractions.
Probably a good day to stay home.
Yes, I think being 2 hours away was gonna hold up.
We knew it was close.
Yeah.
We knew it was gonna be close. So, well, that'll conclude new business today. I'm gonna call for general public comments. Are there any general public comments? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I forgot that this concerns Evans here.
Everything concerns me apparently today.
Yeah. That the Walmart Dino Nuggets are fine, that the false lead positive test wasn't because of the nuggets, it was because of where they were tested at.
What's a little flavor though?
So these are fine for it.
You can have your nuggets.
Good.
Like,
And eat them too.
Make fun of the young guy. Sure, that's how it is.
hey, you poke your fun.
Yeah.
Did you say Nate had something for us?
Well, I'm getting there.
Yeah.
We have no need for close. I'm just gonna do it as the last thing before we adjourn. Closed session is no need. We do need an approval for our April 7th closed session minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ballard, supported by Commissioner Lee to approve our closed session meeting minutes from April 7th. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is. And then lastly, before the meeting last week, I grabbed a few commissioners. I had some discussions with some of the guys about ever since I've been here, and I'm sure since Gary, you've been here, and all of us, we've held this special meeting this day in April. There is a statute from 1911 that clearly states the Board of Commissioners is supposed to hold a meeting to approve the equalization report the Tuesday after the second Monday. It's the most strangely written sentence I've ever read in my life. And just from an efficiency standpoint, I've always try to look at ways to make our jobs easier, more efficient, not trying to, not follow a statute, but Roger had a good idea of having Nathan look into a little bit of what other counties are doing. So he did that, and I'm going to let you share what you found.
Yeah, so I looked at all of our neighbors, and I looked at some other counties that, kind of are, I think, pretty efficient in government. So after polling 13 counties, I found that Ogama County was the only other one to hold a special meeting. And that Huron and Macomb had meetings on that day already. So there was 3 out of 13 that actually had a meeting on that Tuesday, and 2 of them, it was part of their regular scheduled meetings, because they fall on that date. One had a special meeting, but Bay County, no. St. Clair County, no. Tuscola, no. Lapeer, no. Saginaw, no. Genesee, no. Clinton, no. Jackson, no. Midland, no. And Eaton, no. So those are some pretty, I think, well-run counties, reputable places that aren't holding special meetings to do this. And what kind of brought that to my attention is Keegan also does equalization services in Bay and Gratiot, and he said they don't hold a special meeting for that. So I think that opens the door for you guys to decide.
Yeah, if it was an issue, I'm sure somebody in Lansing would have taken notice.
Well, I think Nathan had a good point. Back in 1911, everything was done by paper and hauled around on a horse.
Yeah.
And so the timing of it was probably important for the state to force the Board of Commissioners to do it on that day with some mechanism because it took so long to get it there. The reality is that typically our equalization report is being amended and perfected right up to the day that it's electronically sent to the state. So again, my personal opinion is we eliminate this special meeting and we simply do the equalization report at the second. So our meeting schedule would stay the same for the whole year, first and third Tuesdays, and we would do the equalization report on the third Tuesday of April, 1 week after it's, the date that's in the statute. I wouldn't want to change our schedule to shift to that day because then all of us have to remember that. And if we just stick with that first and third, it's super simple. So it doesn't require a motion by the board. It's just if nobody disagrees and we have consensus amongst the board, Jody will just simply add it
off.
Yeah, we'll just take it off. So.
Sounds good to me.
That equalization report too, that John had talked about and talking to Keegan and looking at some things that is just needs to be submitted first Monday in May to the state. So, I mean, that gives you more time than, if you do the meeting, if this would have been the 21st, you would have had ample time.
And even internally, come on, how many times have we sat here? Not since Keegan's been here, but previously, and we didn't know the equalization number until the morning of the meeting, right? So obviously, if we deviated that week, it might actually make life a little easier on the equalization department. It might help things flow a little better for us. So I'm hearing everybody's got consensus. So you guys are good to make that move then. And
We need a motion. Do we need a motion?
No, it's just our meeting schedule. So everybody will be here next year, right? And when we all set the meeting schedule, the first meeting of the year, everybody can just presume that next year's schedule will be missing that meeting. So.
Well, the purpose of this meeting was to have this presented, right? And ironically enough, he's not here today.
Yeah, which also seems to be, so.
Well, to adopt the numbers, right?
Right.
Not necessarily have the presentation, but to adopt them.
So if any warrants are issued, they should be directed to him, right?
So, and that's all I had. Is there anything anybody else has to bring before the Board of Commissioners before we adjourn our meeting today?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn at 1:52 by Commissioner Sarkella, supported by Commissioner Lee. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.